What is going on, YouTube? This is the Just BSN podcast. I am with my co-host Andrew, and we got some stuff to talk about today. Obviously, we are continuing through the free agency fiasco, which has calmed down quite a bit since last week, as it should and as it usually does. But the Browns have stayed somewhat busy, not overly crazy, but have made some deals. Have made some investments in this team, I guess you could say. And yeah, we're just continuing down a pretty good path. So, Andrew, how you feeling today, man?
Man, I'm feeling good. Everything's all good here, and we're just vibing. The sports world is going great. The Browns continue to make some moves and ready for baseball season next week.
Yes. I mean, honestly, dude, I can't really complain right now. Like, sports is pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have March Madness that just started today at noon.
Yep.
Already some upsets there, which is, I mean, that's March Madness, baby. That's the best part about March Madness is
Love
the
it.
upsets. So if you're betting on those, I bid you farewell and good luck because I'm not touching any bets right now until like minimum of Sweet 16. Like I got to get through the bigger part of the bracket because I don't even do brackets anymore because there's just like no point. Like I feel like mine gets ruined literally within the first hour and a half, which a majority of them did.
Yeah. I think a
So
lot of them did.
yeah, so I try not to do brackets anymore. I used to love doing them as a kid, but like nowadays, like if I'm even gonna do it for like free, like just through work, I'm like I'm probably gonna get this wrong because like I don't follow college basketball like religiously. Like I really don't. I think the last time I did was the last time Ohio State was like really, really, really good, and that was like the Gray Godin, Mike Conley days, which
Yeah.
was like '06, '07 type shit. So, point is, it's been a minute since I've really like cared about, but
I mean, I
college
missed
basketball.
I missed the Aaron Craft days too.
Yeah.
The Aaron
That's
Craft Evan
right.
Turner days.
Yep, Evan Turner days. Yep, yeah, those were good days too. I definitely okay, yeah, I definitely did watch it then too. Um, but honestly, speaking of Ohio State, before we move back into the Browns, I like the fact that they kept uh, Jake Diebler as their head coach. The
Yeah.
kids seemed to really rally around him, and that was smart because he's like homegrown. Like I'm pretty sure he played for us in those days as well. Like he was a 3 point god, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so it's just nice to see that they saw that and was like, you know what, we don't have to outsource for a coach. We have it right here, and if the kids buy in, they buy in. Because really, what they need to do is they need to recruit better. They have not recruited well since D. Russ has been gone. That's
Yeah.
the last like big time Ohio State kid that I've heard of. So hopefully they can fix that in terms of their recruiting and get on the same level as the football team is. Because
Hmm.
guys like Jeremiah Smith, I mean, dude, he already got his black stripe off, which he's like the fastest red shirt for freshman to ever get the black stripe off this quickly. Like
It's insane.
because he already looks like an NFL player. It's scary that dude is only a freshman.
And he already looks like an NFL caliber player.
Like he is a dude. Like I didn't know that he was like that big of a dude, but he is a big
He's a
boy.
huge guy.
He's
Huge dude.
huge. Like when I saw because I saw it on Twitter today, I think at work, and I was like, that's Jeremiah Smith. I was like, dude, I thought this kid was like a slot receiver. This dude's like a freaking X or like a Z. Like what the hell? Like
Yeah.
this kid can. He's probably gonna moss some kids for real for real. He is gonna be special to watch the next few years. That's
Yeah.
gonna be great, man. Dude, I can't wait for Ohio State football either, man. Fuck, man, we got so long for that shit too.
Also, didn't our running backs coach leave from Michigan too?
Yes,
What a fucking
that was
loser.
funny. I heard we're looking into like DeMarco Murray or
Yeah,
something,
DeMarco Murray.
which is kind of cool. I mean, I'll take him.
Yeah,
Uh,
fuck it.
it's just hilarious. Like the coaching staff this year. Like, uh, we had what was it? Brian or sorry, Bill O'Brien was our OC, and then he leaves for some random head coaching gig.
I think he got the head coaching gig at, was it like Boston College?
Yeah, something like that. And then we just stole Chip Kelly from UCLA.
Yeah.
Like he was the head coach at UCLA. And they're like, "Hey man, you do you want to be our OC?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to be the OC. I don't want to get killed by y'all for the next 10 years." Fuck.
Yeah.
Plus I guarantee he knows, like, hey, low key, if we keep losing and Day gets fired, Chip Kelly is going to be like one of the guys in the hat for that anyway, along with the Vrabels and guys like that. So like it's kind of smart for him to get back into like a legit program again.
Well, and I think that's why he did that too.
Me too.
If something happens to, the head coaching position, like he could easily just walk in and just be like, it could easily be mine, like
Yeah.
And he would have no problem getting it. So Ryan Day better count his days, because if you fuck up, dude, Chip Kelly's right there. And
I mean, we were calling for his head after last year's loss to Michigan, so you can't, dude. 3 years in a row. Now listen, with the amount of people that we've added and the amount of people that Michigan is about to lose, there is zero fucking way we lose to them again. But if we do, Ryan Day might go on he might go on like watch of getting out of here, I guess. That kid, like, dude, that dude is gonna be on edge from the amount of people that are just gonna be at his front door ready to kick it open, because Ohio State fans are very spoiled. And when you don't win against Michigan, especially them, I mean, you can lose to Illinois, whatever. Like, it's going to happen. It's the Big Ten. You can still come back from that and still win the Big Ten championship, and then it doesn't matter. Yeah. But you lose to Michigan, that's it. Like if you lose to Michigan, that's what gets you in the Big Ten championship anyway.
Well, and now you're adding more competition too, with the USC, UCLA. I believe Washington's in here.
Yeah, Washington as well. Like,
so. You have competition now. Yeah, it's a difficult time now. So, like, not only do you have to worry about beating Michigan, you have to beat USC, you have to beat Washington, you have to beat Oregon. And you have to go out west for those games, too. It's not like you're going up the street for 3 hours to Michigan or, whatnot. You're going completely across the state or the states and having to go to Oregon, having to go to Washington, having to go to USC, UCLA.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, they have to do the same. They have to come to you, but it's going to be a lot more tougher. And now you're doing a lot of traveling too, because usually the Big Ten is compact and all the schools are right within each other. Like the furthest you probably go is Minnesota, and that's probably the furthest you go. Maybe Nebraska, and that's as far as you go. And now you have to go all the way to California, to Oregon, to Washington. Like now the travel schedule is really difficult.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna be interesting to see how both schools get the feel of that, because that's that's a legit thing, because everybody in the Big Ten, like, that's what the Big Ten was sort of known for, as being like that, like, Northeast Midwest conference. And it's just not that anymore, because we're also losing teams because they've been so ass that they can't hang at a Big Ten like they're never gonna reach the Big Ten ever.
Please kick out Rutgers.
Rutgers, Northwestern, like, get those guys. Put Northwestern in the MAC-10. Like, I don't care. That's really don't.
Put Rutgers or like Northwestern in the MAC or something. Like,
make that make that conference a little more interesting.
Yeah, like, because let's be honest, Akron beat Northwestern like 2 years ago.
Or they beat them last year?
It was something.
They beat them last year in like overtime or something.
I think last year they did, but I think they beat them again like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, because that's when we had the old small dude as our head coach. Whatever, I can't think of his name at the moment, but like I remember we beat their asses too, and that was in Northwestern too. And we beat their ass. And I remember the scoreline, and I remember that scoreline wasn't even close. It was like 34 to like 17 or something. Like, Akron just like demolished like a fucking Big Ten school.
Literally, like it's insane. Like, some of these Big Ten teams, and like that's why when we go to the playoffs, a ton of fans like, oh, you guys didn't play anybody. I was like, dude, it's not our fault that the Big Ten is washed right now. Why do you think we're adding teams in here? Because we want competition. We want to prove that we're a top 4 team.
And the SEC is basically the same way too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Alabama keeps winning. It's like, but the SEC is not that stacked either because LSU's ass now,
Right. And
and
plus, they get to
Auburn's
start their
ass.
seasons against Akron and Kent State, and they
Yeah,
whoop them, and then give them a millie, and then go, "Hey, thanks for the free win." Like
yeah. I can't wait to watch
everybody does it.
Alabama play the Citadel next year and watch them get killed 75-0.
God, it's just yeah. Don't even get me started on that crap. But yeah, we sort of started ranting about Ohio State, but
As we should.
most of this episode is going to be about the Brownies because we have still been somewhat active,
Mm-hmm.
which is not totally surprising, especially with the type of moves that we've made since then. But yeah, the Browns have stayed active. So two of the guys that I really want to mention. Obviously, the signing now of Winston was official. Honestly, a lot of the guys that we added from last week have finally signed. I don't think there's any more looming there. We also added Tyler Huntley, which was another interesting one. That was one I did not expect at all as a Browns fan because we had DTR.
Mm-hmm.
We already have JJ Jameis, and obviously we have Watson. So interesting to see that, but it kind of makes sense considering how last year went. You can never really have too many decent quarterbacks
Yeah.
in the in that room. So what do you think about adding Huntley on top of already adding Winston? Do you think it's gonna uh, do anything negatively to that room? I guess.
No, I don't think it'll add any negativity to the room. I think what Barry's doing is you're just adding guys that fit the style of what you're trying to do. You're trying to fit the playbook with guys who basically just do the same things. Watson, Jameis, Huntley, they could run, they could throw the football well, and all three have good arms, and they can escape the pocket when you need them to. And I don't think that's going to discourage Watson at all because, yeah, he's probably thinking, I am coming back from an injury that was significant, and especially it was to my throwing shoulder. So that could hinder me a little bit. But if I do go down, you still have two elite quarterbacks, two really good quarterbacks behind me
Mm-hmm.
that were also Pro Bowlers, and they could take over and they could do their job. And everyone talks about what Jameis did in New Orleans when he disobeyed the coach and stuff. You could probably already tell that Jameis was ready to get out of New Orleans
Yeah.
and ready to go. And that's probably why he disobeyed the coaching and stuff like that. He's like, he probably just wants out of that place. He's been there for so long that he's like, get me the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't getting the starting job. And you had to split time with Taysom Hill. And then Derek Carr came in and he was probably over because when he went there, he thought, okay, I'm day one starter. And then you start splitting time with Taysom Hill, even though you weren't doing that bad.
Yeah.
And now you have Derek Carr in, and now you know you're not going to start because Derek Carr's a great quarterback. So he's going to go to a place where he could be more well respected. Um, he's playing behind a guy he knows very well. He knows that if Deshaun gets injured, he respects. And everyone respects Kevin Stefanski. I'm sure
Yeah.
Jameis respects Stefanski. Tyler Huntley played against him twice a year, so I'm sure Tyler Huntley respects Stefanski a lot, coming from Baltimore. So a lot of these three guys, I think they're gonna mesh well and create, I think, a very positive locker room in the QB room, and obviously all three of them can work with DTR and build him up too. And I
Yeah.
think that's great for him as well because we all know DTR is going to start off probably in the practice squad because there's no chance you're going to be over Huntley and Jameis
No.
Winston.
No.
But I don't think, again, that doesn't discourage him because he's learning from three great quarterbacks. So I don't see anything negative about these moves.
No. And to be honest, after last season, it just the fact
Makes sense.
we went through four
Quarterbacks.
different quarterbacks and won with all of them. But the fact you go through the four of them with all the injuries, I think it's smart for Barry to say, you know what, screw it, let's stack up on it while we can.
Mhm.
And eh, like I said, it's one of those things where you can never have too many backups, like especially good ones. You
Yeah.
really need quality backups that in the heat of the moment can make plays when they need to or step up when they're needed. This league is very unpredictable. It's gonna happen where guys get hurt, and I'm not sure if this plays any of of a factor at all. But I do wonder how they feel about Watson's current situation with his shoulder. I don't know if they think he's 100% yet or if he's going to be, so they want to be proactive. That could very well play a factor. Honestly, and this is sort of big brain stuff. Like this would be like big brain AB stuff. Bringing in guys like Huntley and Winston also give you trade value
Mhm.
when teams are going to have quarterbacks go down because that happens every year. So if a team has to come calling, similar to what the Cardinals did last year with Dobbs, you get a free pick out of it. It's money. I mean, it's
Mhm.
literally money. So I think part of that too, for Barry is saying like, hey, also just in case, uh, if we get rid of one, we can still know that we still have a legit quarterback too, and then you can have DTR still remain back. Don't worry about having to play right now. You can still develop, and you'll be
Mhm.
around great guys. It just makes sense because DTR definitely needs more time, and that's fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Um, he's still young, so I have no problem with that at all. It's just hard for me to believe that we are going to keep four quarterbacks on the roster, especially starting, unless Winston starts like on IR or starts the season, not playing the first game or two. Then okay, I can see that.
Mhm.
But I just don't see that happening. I think he'll be ready by the time we hit September because he's already getting ready to throw. I know he's with Chief and a few of the other guys as well right now. I think down in Miami or whatever. So, um,
I think Deshaun was on a podcast with David
yeah,
Njoku and
yeah,
someone
he
else,
was.
and yeah, he said he was gonna start throwing. I think it was starting today.
Yeah,
I
yeah, something
think
like that.
I think
It
it
was
was supposed to
sometime
be.
this week. Yeah,
Yeah, well, he said, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow." Like start throwing. So I'm assuming that's today because I can't
yeah.
remember when it came out. If it was like yesterday or the day before, but as we speak, he should already be throwing or at least getting ready to. And I mean, hey, if we see videos of him throwing and his arm looks good and shoulder looks great, then we got no problems.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I just thought it was big brain stuff by
Oh, 100%.
AAB. The dude is playing chess while or checkers while everybody is playing chess or chess playing checkers. I'm on 4 hours of sleep because I can't fucking talk right now. But big brain stuff by AB. I love it. And then obviously we added Devontae Foreman, I think was his name, or
Deontay
Deontay
Foreman.
Foreman,
Yeah.
Bruiser. I mean, I love that signing. I think it's a very low key signing, and it again gives you more depth at running back. And to be honest, I think with him, coming here along with Hines, it's safe to say that you almost wonder a obviously we don't think Chubb is ready, but B, what do they think about Ford right now? Like, do they actually have confidence in Ford, or are they under the impression that he might not even make the roster at this point?
I mean, it could be both. Like, it could be under the impression
Yeah.
that he may not make the roster, or he's just gonna be a solidified backup because you don't get Hines or Foreman, two pretty solid running backs for no reason, and there has to be a reason. And like you said, it could be a reason of maybe Nick Chubb just isn't ready yet. Like he's getting more and more
Yeah.
healthier, sure, but he may not be ready to like start the first like at least like 2 or 3 games maybe.
Yeah.
And you maybe do at that point you start Jerome Ford because obviously he's familiar with the team and stuff like that. So you might start him, but once Chubb comes back, do you really need him? Because again, Deontay Foreman has had a couple good seasons with Chicago,
Yeah.
and Nyheim Hines is just a specialist. He could be a special teams uh, punt returner, kick returner. You might have gotten him for that reason, but
Pass catcher, very
pass
very
catch.
well.
But again, like I think of Hines and Foreman as like a Kareem Hunt replacement
Yeah.
because both guys are very good at catching the football. Both guys are very good at running the football. Jerome Ford had troubles catching the ball last year, or last season, and struggled to see a lot of the holes and gaps that were created for him because we've seen those replays and we've seen those videos where there's a nice little gap for Ford to hit, and he could have had a 20-plus yard gain, and chose to go ignore the hole and try to bounce outside and loses 5 yards.
Yeah.
And so you wonder if the biggest question for him is, does he really have that vision that the likes of like a Nick Chubb has, where Nick Chubb will see that hole and immediately just pound through it and go for a pretty much a big 58-yard touchdown run
Yeah.
or a 60-yard, like, and because again he's hard to tackle, so you can almost guarantee it's a big run or a touchdown. But for the likes of Jerome Ford, he doesn't see those holes, and they're big enough. Like, you can see them, we all see them,
Yeah.
but it's like he doesn't know where to go. He looks half the time when he goes, he stutter steps and he looks lost. And he's like, "Oh shit, where do I go?" And yeah, a couple times like against Indianapolis, and I think I had another one against Houston before the playoff where yeah he did hit a hole and got a big like 60-yard touchdown run, but after that like he looked pretty lost.
I mean, Ford, I would say played his best games in the AFC North specifically.
Yeah,
He had a really good game in that
Steelers
comeback
game.
win against the Ravens. Both of the Steelers games he played well.
Yeah,
The one that Chubb got hurt in, I think he had close to, or if not 100 yards on the ground. But in that first game, a majority of those yards were from that big play that he had in
mm-hmm.
that game. And then his other game against the Steelers, he just had a much better game. I think that was like one of, if not his best game of the year.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's weird how he doesn't seem to have the freaking vision, but also he just doesn't have the ability to break tackles like guys like Chubb do, or like Foreman at least has that ability, and he does
yeah,
have a little bit of that sort of breakaway speed. And then obviously Hines, I mean, um, it's going to be cool to see him in this offense and see how we use him. But the thing that just keeps coming to mind is like, again, I just don't think we keep 4 running backs on this starting roster, because you have to have one of those slots for the fullback / tight end, unless Reese is a tight end 3 and then he's our fullback. Then okay, I guess that makes sense. But still, even so, generally speaking, I know he likes to keep 3 to 4 tight ends minimum. Um,
yeah.
and it seems like at least 3, running backs. So the only way that I see this panning out, the way that it's going to, is I expect Chubb to start the year on IR. I expect him to miss the first 3 to 4 games just to be safe. Like, that's fine. And then you can sort of dial up how you want to, progress him throughout the season, just to make sure that he doesn't hurt that knee too early. And, God knows what would happen there. But yeah, I just don't see them keeping 4 running backs on the roster for too long. So maybe they are just preparing for the start of the season and then kind of going from there. Because I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, the odd man out would be Foreman, because he would be the least amount of money to
Mm-hmm.
lose. Um, but yeah, it does make me question what exactly they believe in terms of Jerome Ford. Starting to move forward, because he's going into year 3 now.
Mm-hmm.
The kid has to hit the weight room, I think. He's got to start squatting, and he's got to start chest pressing. Like, he's got to get stronger uh, in certain ways with his body to be able to really truly develop. And then yeah, he's got to work with his footwork. He's got to work with his blocking. And the pass game, like he really has to be overall much better than he was last year, because yes, he had great games, but he also had a lot of crappy games. He had a lot of games where he ran for under 30 yards, and that's just not going to cut it in this league, and it's not going
Mm-hmm.
to cut it in this offense. So I don't blame them for starting the year with a ton of that camp depth, just to make sure guys can A, stay healthy, but B, also competition. It's wide open for running backs 2, 3, and 4, and I'm fine with that. I'm cool with it. I just wonder who's going to end up being the odd man out. So, and we still have the draft to go. Like, we don't know what we're going to do in the draft right now. We don't know what's going on with Newsom yet because, that's been quiet. There's still things that could happen here and are going to happen and slowly develop. Um, so I'm more curious, if anything, to see what AB has dialed up next because so far I think he's had a great offseason. I think we haven't broken the bank at all. We've kept key guys, and then we've brought in just solid depth at certain positions of need. And I think we could still use a little bit more, but I think that's where he's going to use the draft anyway. So, I mean, I see what we've done so far this year as a win, and that includes into my next point, Jerry Judy's extension. So earlier last week we restructured his contract, which ends I think at the end of this year, to free up about 10 million,
Yep.
and then now we extended him to that 3-year deal. I think it's 58 mil is just what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, like there's a lot of opinions right now going on about Jerry Judy. Just because he has not had a 1,000 yard season, he's had some bad years. He's had years of injury, but he's also had a really really bad quarterback play. But people are complaining that he is getting too much money right now. We already have money tied up into Watson and Coop and a bunch of these other guys, and so people obviously have things to complain about. Personally speaking, for you, what do you think about the deal? Do you think it was smart to just do it now, or do you think we really should have waited a year to see how he progressed in this offense before deciding to extend him?
I mean, I don't think it was the wrong idea. Like, I think having him solidified for 3 years, doing it now, is a lot better than having to wait because you want a solidified good wide receiver room and you want to make sure you have that for the next couple of years. Although you did give him 58 mil, I think 41 or 40 were guaranteed. Um, but again, I don't think AB made a wrong choice there. I think you have to solidify the wide receiver room. I think you solidify the guy that you've been wanting for the last couple years. And
Yeah.
people forget that it's like the Browns wanted him for the last 2 seasons. And again, like you said, you can't help that he had terrible quarterback play, a couple injuries. But at the end of the day, if you watch film, he's a stud. He's a great receiver. And I think pairing him with Amari Cooper is really going to help. Um, and again, this could be if you do end up getting rid of Amari Cooper, this could be his replacement.
Yeah.
Which is probably another sign of why you signed him for 3 million or 3 years, 58 mil. Is because it could be telling like, hey, this might be Cooper's last season in a Browns uniform, and we just wanted someone younger, but plays the same way.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to lose that because obviously we don't want to get rid of Amari Cooper and have no plan, and have to trust Tillman and Bell and draft another wide receiver and basically David Njoku is your number one target.
Yeah.
Like you don't want your tight end to always be your number one target. That's
Travis
never a
Kelce.
good sign. Yeah, unless you're Travis Kelce or George Kittle or.
Yeah.
But again, like I'd rather have a solidified guy for the next 3 years, not having to worry about who the hell are we going to get a wide receiver if we lose Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
We know now is Jerry Jeudy, and it's going to be Jerry Jeudy. And I don't know why people are arguing about it. It should give you a fresh of breath air. Like, hey, we have a good solidified wide receiver one. If and when Amari Cooper leaves, Elijah Moore's back there too. Like, we still got a good wide receiver too, and Elijah Moore. Like, why worry? Why stress? Are you upset that AB's solidifying, making his team good? Like,
No, it's people always wanting an opinion,
yeah,
and always wanting to complain about something with this team, because we keep spending money. But honestly, when you look at like Michael Pittman's deal,
Yeah.
and then you also compare their stats, which I know my boy Jack Duffin, who is the goat. I've said his name quite a few times the last few weeks because this dude breaks everything down so well. He shared. I'm gonna pull it up here in a second. This dude tweets quite often, so I need to scroll a little bit. But he pulled up the stats between Pittman and Jerry Jeudy,
Hmm.
and basically, oh yeah, okay, here we go. So Michael Pittman, his age, he's 26. He has had 341 catches for 3,752 yards. His average yards per reception is just over 11. He has had 15 touchdowns. Now, Jerry Jeudy, turning 25 this year, only 212 catches, but already has 3,000 yards, averages 14 and a half yards per reception, and he has 11 touchdowns. So, when you think about that, one of those guys is costing you $23.3 million a year. That's Pittman.
Yep.
The other is significantly cheaper, and we're still waiting on the breakdown as to how the contract is going to go, which we all know is going to be back end heavy anyway because the cap keeps going up. Because Barry knows what he's doing. So you have to stop nitpicking. Oh, he hasn't had a 1,000 yard season. He had Drew Lock throwing him the ball for a long time. He had Russell Wilson throwing him the ball with Hackett as his head coach / play caller. And then he has Sean Payton, who honestly blew up the Denver Broncos. They are, I don't even know what they are right now. They're barely a G League level team at this point. And it's mind-boggling that it's no wonder the kid won it out. He was crying out for help. And yeah, he hasn't had a 1,000-yard season. It doesn't mean that he can't. Honestly, in this offense, with how stacked it is, it also takes things off his plate. Everybody's going to be focused on Coop. Everybody is going to be focused on Njoku because he had such a great year this year. Everybody is going to be back on pins and needles when Chubb gets back in the game. Like,
Yep.
he is not going to be the main focus. And guess what? You still have Elijah Moore to throw the ball to. And I wouldn't be surprised if we add another receiver just for depth, or at least in the draft, which I think was more likely. Like, quit complaining, guys. Quit complaining about stuff that
you
really
don't know
doesn't
about.
matter. Like,
Yeah.
the kid is 24, turning 25 this year. By the time his deal is up, he's 28. He's still in his prime, technically. And if he gets better, then yeah, he would end up being the successor of Cooper, because Coop is going to be, I mean, what is Coop 30, like 31 right now?
He's 30. I think he just turned 30.
Let me check that real fast. Yeah. Okay. So he's 29. So he's going to turn 30 this year. So
Yeah.
the point is, the guy is getting older. At some point, he is going to move on, especially after his deal. That is a legit thing that could happen. So
think
you
he's
have to also prepare for that.
I think Cooper's an unrestricted free agent. I think I don't know if it's after this coming season or if it's next season.
Yeah. I want to say it's after this season, but I could be wrong. I would have to look that up, but
I think it's 2025, so I think it's after this season.
and again, he's owed 20 mil, so like obviously the numbers aren't amazing, but you can also keep restructuring deals, and like that's the thing. Like people are like, oh my god, this deal sucks. I'm like, it's gonna get restructured next year again.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, if Amari Cooper likes it here that much, you could restructure other people's deals to keep him here.
Yeah,
and
just like
you can
we
sign
have
up for
been.
another, and you can sign up for another like 3 years or so, and now you have a tandem of Judy and Cooper and Moore, and now you have an elite wide receiver room. You have one of the best tight ends in the league. You continue to restructure the Watson deal. You continue to restructure the Myles Garrett deal and the Denzel Ward deal. And guess what? A lot of these guys are happy to take the pay cuts right now
Yeah.
to stay here and build a championship roster, because guess what? Everyone on this team right now believes they can win. And it seems like only a few of us believe so too, because everyone seems to continue to get upset over the dumbest shit. But it's like,
Yeah.
this team could definitely win. Now, we understand that Houston's just gotten so much better. We understand that a lot of these teams have gotten so much better, but
Yeah.
you may not have to face Houston again in the first round of the playoffs. You might face them in the AFC Championship game,
Yeah. with how good they're starting to look. Yeah.
and you never know. Maybe, and I wish nothing bad because I love CJ Stroud. He's one of my favorites, but who knows that this rookie year could have just been a fluke year. We don't know if CJ Stroud could keep that up.
Yeah. Because
We see plenty of rookies like
Yeah.
that have an amazing season, and then next thing you know, they were non-existent for the next couple of years.
Yeah. I mean RG3. I mean, listen,
Yeah,
I'm not comparing CJ Stroud to RG3, but like it happens. Guys win
happens.
rookie of the year and then
And
they
then
do jack
regress.
shit.
Yeah, and they
Because it
regress
happens.
heavy. Yeah,
Baker.
Yeah.
We watched Baker break the records that CJ eventually broke, I think, um,
the
of a
touchdown
rookie
record.
quarterback. And motherfucker, the dude had horrible years until 2020, and then hasn't been good since this past year. So like, it can happen. Guys can regress because teams now understand how to defend against them. They understand their weaknesses better because they've had a year to finally see, okay, this is what he likes to do. This is where he likes to go. It's all strategy here, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's why guys, when guys can last in this league for 10, 5, 10, 20 years like this, like there's some guys that have like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. It is the most impressive thing you can ever imagine when guys can solidify themselves in the league for this long and stay just as good as they have been for this long, because teams get better, they get smarter, they understand how to defend you better, yet you still can consistently throw up 300 yards, 3 scores, a pick sometimes, but overall just killing it weekly
Yeah,
and always setting your team up for success. It's impressive. So like, we don't know if Stroud can do that yet, and that's
and I hope he
fine.
does. To be honest, I
Yeah,
hope he
me
does
too.
because I love
I don't
CJ
hate
Stroud.
him.
He's one of
Yeah.
my favorites. I loved him when he was at Ohio State. I
If
love him
anything, it
now.
pisses me off that we didn't do what Houston did and just said screw Watson and then just played for Stroud. Because honestly, at this point, we wouldn't be in cap hell. We would still have a decent, you know, culture, but we would have a quarterback for the next. I mean, God, I don't even know
15
how
years,
long.
10 years,
At least, and
10
it's
to
like
15.
you just think about what could have been, and you're like, fuck, man, like it could have happened, but you know what? We're here, and I'm not gonna complain about this team. This team is set up
No,
the best that it has been since before we were born, like since the '80s when the
yeah,
Browns were fun and good, and
the cardiac
that
kids.
that culture is back, and we have our own version of the cardiac kids. We have our own version of just that level of swagger, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so much fun, man. Like the league is so much more fun when the Browns are at least competing for playoffs and competing for championships. Like that is when the league is just like,
And the thing that blows my mind is too is like going back to the people complaining. It's like, especially the older people. It's like, what are you complaining about? This is the best. Like the last couple of years have been the best roster you have seen
yeah,
since you were probably a kid in the '80s and whatnot. And it's like you're complaining now that, oh well, we have Watson's big ass contract. We have this and that. It's like,
cares.
but look at the roster.
Yeah.
This team will probably demolish the team in the '80s. Like this team is so good. Like you're complaining about being good for the first time since you were a kid.
Yeah.
Like what is wrong with you? Why are you complaining for the first time in your life? Like you didn't complain for the last 20 or so years when we were ass.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you hate the Browns now because we're actually good again. And it's like we haven't been this good since the 80s and the 70s and the 60s.
Yeah.
Hell, even the early to mid 90s we were solid. And here we are now. You know, we made our first playoff game in 2020. Our first playoff game before that was 0-2. I was 6. And here we are now. I'm a grown ass adult. The next time I went from being 6 years old watching the Browns in the playoffs for the first time in 0-2 to being pretty much fucking 26. to see him in the playoffs next time. Well, I was
Yeah.
like, at that time I was like 20. Oh god, I'm 28 now. I was about 24.
Yeah.
So the next time I got to see him in the playoffs was when I was 24,
Yeah.
and again now when I'm 28.
And of course it was during COVID, so like nothing
Yeah.
really mattered. Like that season was so fluky and like it just didn't really seem like legit because of just the fact you didn't have fans, like
Yeah.
you didn't have football. Like it was just different then. So like everybody like I mean we counted it because obviously it was like the best season that we had up until last year, but also just like it was just so fluky. Like everybody's like, what is going on in the world? Like the Browns are good. The whole world is shut down right now. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? What is going on in the world? What changed in 2020? So, yeah, it's there's a special thing getting brewed right now with this Browns team. The culture is through the roof. The coaching staff is literally, this is like God, S tier level of a coaching staff right now. I mean S tier.
I don't even know if you saw the video of Jameis Winston that happened like earlier today or whatever when he was praising the grounds crew for keeping the field nice during the snow. he's like
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know how they do it during the snow, but they keep this
Yeah.
field so nice, man. I'm blessed.
Dude, this dude literally was taking snaps in the weight room with Wipler when because he was there lifting, and he's like, "Hey man, let's get you a few snaps, man. I'll get your cadence down and all that." It was just like, bro, relax. We're not even in mini camps yet. Chill.
Dude, his
Like you're in
interviews
a
are gonna,
trench coat.
his interviews are about to be the best thing in the
Dude,
world.
yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot wait for the interviews. Like
It's gonna be fun.
Tony Grossi better sit the fuck down because it's about to get
Between
funny.
between him and Tyler freaking Huntley as well, just like him being that that like Snoop Dogg vibe,
Yeah,
and then just how it's just again the culture like
it's the
having
vibe, man.
Darius back is gonna be great. Jordan
Having
Hicks I think
Harris.
is I think Jordan Hicks is gonna be hilarious too because he's more of the old head, and
Yeah.
he's gonna have fun. With this young group like. Yeah, I just want to see an update from Chubb. Like, I just want him to post. Like, show us that you're alive, man. I want to see you squat 600 right now. That's all I
Dude,
want.
if he
Give me
posts a video
that.
tomorrow of him squatting like 700 pounds and, he,
Oh,
and
dude.
his knee looks elite, everyone's gonna be freaking the fuck.
Yeah.
However, the
Nut.
world's gonna shut down. Give
Yeah.
me that nut button. Nut.
Literally, like everybody, dude. Could you imagine it? Like, once that does happen, Twitter, Instagram, all that, but Twitter is going to go insane. Like, people are going to be like that. It's like that freaking the Office meme where he's like, "Oh my God, stay calm, it's happening. Oh my God, it's happening. Stay calm, stay fucking calm." Yeah, that's what that's gonna be like. So, yeah, that's all I care about right now. I just want to see my boy Chubb back. But to stay in the AFC North, to get back on on topic here a little bit, Justin Fields went to the Steelers
Yeah.
for a bag of crumbs, which pisses me off. Because if we didn't get Winston or Huntley or anything, I honestly wanted Fields to be our backup, and I wanted him to be here. So the fact he went to the Steelers, it makes a lot more sense. Because there's still an unknown about Wilson.
Yeah.
And honestly, if Wilson struggles early on, I don't think they're gonna be patient with him. I think they would want to pull the trigger with Fields,
Yeah.
which it's so weird, dude. I've heard a lot of like conflicting rumors, reports about like how they feel about Russ and then how they feel about Fields. Where like I've heard that they would want to give Russell a extension, and then I've heard, hey, if he struggles or like early on, Fields has got it, and they would just release him. So it's like I don't know what the plan is there. I think they're literally just throwing darts at a dartboard and seeing which one is going to work first. Obviously, Fields is more of the long term solution. So it just wouldn't make sense for them to keep Russ longer than this year. But it just, again, even so, like Fields is good, and I'm not gonna say he's not. Again, I don't think it puts them over the edge because I still don't love that roster. So like, I'm still not scared of the Steelers. Is my point.
Mm.
Do you think that the addition of Fields is going to be good or bad for the AFC North, and really more so for us because the AFC North is already as tough as it is, being with the Bengals and the Ravens. Now you got Justin Fields in a Steeler uniform, so now you have to hate a former Buckeye.
I think it's actually great for the North, just for the fact that like I think now the North is not only just the toughest division, but has like the best quarterbacks in the league.
By far.
But like, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, and Justin Fields,
Yeah.
like that's elite. Like that is absolutely elite. Like
That's
we're gonna
stacked is really what it is.
and the thing
It's
is,
just stacked.
I think for us in the AFC North, the football is gonna be more fun to watch, while everyone else is like, "Oh, we're playing boring, shitty football." Everyone's gonna be looking at the AFC North like, "Man, look at this fun, like exciting, extravagant football! Like this is so cool and stuff like that." And I think it's great for the division itself, but for the Browns, I mean, again, it's up in the air just for the fact that like the Steelers have no offensive weapons besides Justin Fields. They have no running back. They have no receivers. They barely even have an offensive line. So it's like, again, if you're gonna put him in a situation, it's gonna be like Chicago all over again, where he's just gonna get obliterated. He's gonna get sacked. He's gonna get hit, and it's like, cool, you got Justin Fields for a bag of peanuts, but you didn't put anything around him. Who's he gonna throw to besides just George Pickens? All he has is George Pickens. You got rid of Washington. You got rid of Johnson. You're getting rid of everyone. You're probably getting rid of Harris.
And you couldn't get Mike Williams.
And you could.
He went to New York.
Yeah, you couldn't get Mike Williams as he went to New York. So it's like you have no receivers besides George Pickens. He's probably pissed off and he wants to leave soon because now he has nobody around him. And
well, honestly, he might like it because he's the only one that's going to get the ball. So that's all he cares about.
Well, he's gonna get upset because he's gonna be the one who's heavily defended, and now he's gonna get the ball less, and and then it's gonna lead to picks.
How much you want to bet fucking Odell goes to Pittsburgh just to say fuck it and just grab it? You'll grab another quick bag because I've seen he's getting looked at by Miami at the moment. But like you're still having to look at like the free agents that are left. I think Michael Thomas could make sense for them. I would love for him to come to the Browns, but
I think
just being selfish. But
I just think a lot of those wide receivers do make sense just to go to Pittsburgh because the wide receiver 2 slot is wide open and the wide receiver 3 spot is wide open. So it would make sense for Odell to go there. It would make sense for Thomas to go there. It makes sense for any wide receiver to go there and be a number 2. But that's the key is, do they want to go there? As much as they have a great defense, their offense is shit. And again, you're only as good as your quarterback. And we learned that with Jerry Jeudy when he was, again, with Denver and he had Drew Lock and Nathaniel Hackett. You're only as good as your coach and your player.
Yeah.
And your quarterback. And, Odell can't get the ball or Thomas can't get the ball if Justin Fields is constantly laying on the ground after he got obliterated by Myles Garrett or by Zadarius Smith or, by Hubbard in Cincinnati or, by all these other guys in the league, in the North, whatever. Like, at that point, you're just rendered useless. Pickett would be useless. Pickens would be useless. Any wide receiver who goes there would be useless because if you can't build an offensive, it's like Chicago. If you can't build a line, if you can't get anything around them, the quarterback is just useless. Russell Wilson would be useless. Fields would be useless. So, yeah, it's great that they got Justin Fields, but are you going to put anything around him? It's the same thing what we said last few years with Joe Burrow down in Cincy. Joe Burrow is going to be the most elite quarterback in the league. Sure. But he's going to keep getting fucking hurt if you can't keep him upright.
Yeah. Well, and so here's a hot take that I'm sure you'll actually agree with when you really think about what I am going to say here. But Russell Wilson isn't good when he doesn't have a good run game behind him.
Absolutely.
Think about who he started with. He had Marshawn fucking Lynch.
Yep.
He had one of the best running backs ever to play the game, at least in our generation of watching football. The dude was elite. The dude was untackleable. Like, the dude could not be brought down. He was Nick Chubb before Nick Chubb, okay? And he's always had help in the run game. So when he
Always.
doesn't have help in the run game, like he did in Denver, of course he was going to struggle. He needs a run game. He is not a heavy passer. Like, yeah, he can throw up big numbers. He can. He did it in Seattle, but they don't win that way. Like
He's
that
not.
that's not the way he wins. And
He's
Pittsburgh doesn't have a good run game.
he's not the type of quarterback that throws 45 passes a game,
No,
and
he's
or
not.
should throw 45 passes a game.
It should be no more than like 28 for him, to be honest. Like it's
Yeah,
like the Baker rule for me. Like if you make Baker throw more than 30 times, he doesn't really do well.
yeah.
If he stays between 25 to 30, he's all right. 25 to 28 is his sweet spot. But
And
like Russell's the same way.
but you'd think the Pittsburgh Steelers would go after one of these running backs. You know, do you think they would go after like a Derrick Henry or try and go after some of these running backs that were available at the beginning because Najee Harris isn't it, and you already know that.
Yeah.
And we don't know how good if Jalen Warren is going to repeat what he did this past season because if Jalen Warren doesn't do that, you literally just have nothing behind him. And again, it's going to be another Denver situation where he's going to be complete trash because where Wilson's going to be complete trash because he has no run game. And again, it's the same with Justin Fields. Justin Fields isn't going to be shit unless he has a solid run game and people to throw to, and some people in front of him to protect him. So you're the Steelers, as yes, they got Justin Fields. They're not doing anything to help themselves
No.
anywhere elsewhere on the offense.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a good defense. Yes, you have TJ Watt, but I'm sure TJ Watt's like, guys, I can't do everything. I can't get all the sacks. I can't make all the defensive plays. We need our offense to get going, and I can't go on offense and be quarterback or be a running back or whatever. I can't do all the work. I need some fucking help.
Yeah.
And he's probably going up to Tomlin in the front office like, listen, build, like get more people. And one guy I saw on TikTok, I'm sure you heard of the name Chef Zay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said, I think he said it best. You know, when people are complaining about the Browns not getting certain players and stuff like that, you know, he specifically said when you're a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Ravens and teams like that who have been good for years and years and years, you can generally just do whatever you want when it comes to these deals and stuff like that because other teams respect you. You could get good players for less. Like when you have been good for decades, like the Steelers have been good for the last 20 or so years because obviously for some reason under Mike Tomlin they can't have a losing record. And, you know, same with the Patriots years ago. Same with, the Ravens now, because the Ravens are still really good. You know, all these good teams, the Kansas City Chiefs are doing it now.
Yeah.
You could generally get whoever the hell you want for almost nothing.
Yeah.
And until you get that respect from teams around the league, when you're the Cleveland Browns and you've been dog shit for the last 20 years, nobody's going to want to sell you. Everyone's going to overprice players for you. So maybe we couldn't have gotten Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick. Maybe everyone's like, you're not gonna get him for more than a second, or a third, or a second and a third, or like they could change the prices based on the team, because you don't have that respect. You've been bad. How do you know you gotta make Justin Fields even worse? So and I thought that was a great point. Like when you're a good team and a good organization. And this goes for all sports. You could generally just do whatever you want. You could be the Dodgers and sign Shohei Ohtani for $700 million. It don't matter. You can do whatever the hell you want. And I thought that was an amazing point because it's like, yeah, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson can go there for cheap, and they could probably go get Michael Thomas and Odell at the same time if they wanted to. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that's up to the Steelers if they want to do that. If they don't want to do that, cool. You're going to kill Justin Fields and you're going to kill Russell Wilson and you're going to probably go 8-8, or you're probably going to go 9-8 regardless because you're the Steelers. You're still going to win somehow 9 games this season. But like, what are you going to do if Mike Tomlin decides to leave after this season? Then you could be seeing the Steelers go 4-13 and stuff like that at that point because.
And guess who leaves? And guess who leaves with him? TJ Watt.
TJ Watt.
He's gonna go. He's not gonna as soon as he sees the disrespect from Mike Tomlin like that, he's gone.
Yeah. No,
or
and
he's
that's the
just gonna
thing.
retire at that point. Fuck it.
Well, and TJ's he's still young, isn't he? He's like
Yeah,
29, 28.
yeah. I mean, he's
But
about my age, if not a little older.
and that's the thing too. It's like, and if you're the Browns and you see TJ Watt available, and you could probably smash him and Miles Garrett together, I mean, dude, I'm sure TJ Watt would love that too. Like, hey, we were against each other for all these years. Let's
Right,
be together and
right.
let's just wreck the fucking league.
My
20 sacks apiece for
God,
both of them a season.
that
Can you imagine
would
a singular team having 40 sacks in one season?
that
That's
would
ridiculous.
be that would be the scariest defense I think you could ever put on a football field.
In NFL history.
Like that's like
For
scarier than like
the
Legion
Legion
of
of Boom,
Boom. That's scarier than the fucking I think it
the
was
Steel Curtain.
the Steel Curtain when they were just I mean they were the reason that the player safety initiative is a thing
Yeah.
because of those teams because those guys were literally going out to kill. Like those were scary teams.
And could you imagine TJ Watt saying, I'll go to the Browns? Fuck it.
Right.
I'll go with
God.
Miles. You want me to join Miles Garrett? Hell yeah.
We would be in a like if you think we're in cap hell now, we would be in cap hell with
But we'd
those
be in
guys. So
Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl.
yeah, we'd be having fucking DTR be our quarterback though, because he'd be the only one that would be cheap enough to keep at that point. Fuck.
DTR's your starting QB for this.
Right. Fuck, man.
It's the only one you can afford.
That would be nuts. I mean, a man can dream. Obviously, it won't
Oh, of
happen.
course.
But like, even so, like, still keeping the duo of Miles and Sedarius. I think it is perfect for us.
Yeah.
Still having Ogbo. I think Alex Wright took a big leap last year. You still have Alex McGuire, or not Alex McGuire, whatever the hell his name is. It's not McGuire.
Isaiah McGuire.
Isaiah McGuire, who is like a bull rush type of kid. He's going into year 2 now, so who knows how he starts to progress. Progress. It's
you retain Shelby Harris, Maurice Hurst.
yeah, pass rushing. You literally added more pass rushing as
You
well,
got that Ika can do something because
Yeah.
if Ika can get something going, oh my god, like that.
especially in the
defensive line
run
is
game.
That defense would be ridiculous.
Yeah,
And if he could continue just to retain Jim Schwartz, or even if Jim Schwartz were to leave to get a head coaching job, you could
Mike
just
Vrabel.
boost Mike Vrabel,
Right,
and now you have
yeah.
Mike Vrabel defense, which is again still insane.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty much the same thing at that point.
yeah, so I mean, just having the guys that you have now, and I mean, you have the scariest defense, one of the scariest, if not the scariest defense in the league. I mean, for the first like 80% of the season, you held teams to barely 100 passing yards, and
Yeah.
not even 100 rushing yards, and everyone's like, how the hell do we even get past this Browns defense? It's like, you don't. I mean, at least at home you didn't.
Unless you're CJ Stroud in Houston
Unless
in
you're
the
CJ Stroud
playoffs.
in
Yeah.
Houston, then you could decimate it. But
All right.
man, nah, this is gonna be a crazy season. I could tell. For
It is.
Sure.
It is. My hope though is that we can stay healthier this year because the last year was too taxing on my freaking mental health. But
40%
also
of your rosters out injured on IR.
literally. But also like just don't regress. Like continue to stay at the top of the AFC North. You don't even have to win it at this point, just as long as you make one of the wild cards. Which at this point, everybody in the AFC North is going to be knocking on the wild cards like list. Like
it's gonna be the year where like all of the AFC North teams make the playoffs.
that's disgusting. But like,
That'd be crazy.
yeah, I mean it's. God, dude, I don't even know who like the odd man out is gonna be in the AFC North. I mean, I still feel like it's gonna be Pittsburgh, but
I think everyone in that division wins
the
like 10
Ravens,
games.
yeah, but like the Ravens did kind of regress. The Bengals lost a lot of guys as well. They still haven't locked down Jamar.
No.
T Higgins, I mean, he's still on the roster, but I know he once traded. I
Yeah.
don't think Tyler Boyd has been signed yet. So like,
Tyler Boyd hasn't been signed. Yeah, they tagged T. Higgins.
right. So like he's like he's obviously on the team, but like they can't pay him and Jamar
Yeah.
and Burrow. Like they just can't. Like that's not gonna happen unless it's like unless they make it very back end heavy to where Jamar doesn't make like anything in his first year. But I mean, it's going to be complicated for them. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But I mean, the Ravens obviously they didn't totally regress because they also added King Henry, which is going to be a very exciting 2 games this year against him. Obviously the kids or the dude's 30, 31 now, but he's still Derrick Henry. The dude is freaky. He's a disgusting human being, and tackling him is not going to be fun. But the Browns have been able to keep him pretty much locked up for the most part, and the Ravens did lose part of their O line, so
Yep.
you know they did regress in certain ways. In some ways, they didn't. Where I feel like the Browns didn't really regress; they really improved and then kept what they did really well with last year. So, I mean, I think the Browns have had one of the better off seasons in terms of the AFC North. It just hasn't been this big splashy off season, getting big names besides Jerry Judy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the Browns are going to be scary as long as they can continue to stay healthy and they just don't regress. Kevin Stefanski continue to bring the heat, continue to keep this staff on top of everything, and these guys will totally follow suit, and it's going to be another fun year. So I'm excited. I really, really am too. Like this is going to be a really fun year. It's going to be a fun year for Ohio State again. Like football this next year is going to be fun. And we still have the draft, dude. We still have
Yep.
draft talk to talk about soon. So we'll probably be getting into that within the next, I'd say like week or two. I'd say like 2 weeks probably is when we'll start getting into draft talk.
Yep.
Because next week is, baseball. So I definitely want to try to make next week baseball. Andrew, you got anything else for us before we log off for the day?
No, man. I think we covered all the bases. I think also next week too we can start talking about the Guardians because
Yeah, Gardo's it.
next
Baseball season,
Thursday,
baby.
next Thursday is the start of the regular season. So
Yeah.
baseball's here, baby. We're
Yeah,
ready.
so yeah, I am really excited about that too. I'm really curious to see how these young guys, develop. Obviously, DeLautner has been the big name right now. It sounds like he's going to start in Double A, which makes sense. I mean, the kid literally came from I think the Lake County Captains last year, so he was like a low, you know, league player, I guess. So he still has to go through the emotions, but that kid is going to be outstanding. He's the next big thing for us. I'm so excited with just the staff that we have, man. It's going to be a fun year. So, yeah, Guardians next week, guys. That's pretty much going to be what we are going to talk about. Unless the Browns make any other big crazy things. I'm sure we'll mix in some Cavs as well, since we haven't really talked about them recently, because they've been kind of up and down. They just lost to Miami this past night, so injuries, stuff like that are starting to happen. So Cavs are just in a bit of a funk, but it's almost the end of this season. And anyway, we got NBA playoffs that are going to start next month, I think. So
Yep, couple
um,
weeks.
yeah, sports is in full freaking swing, man. We got some of the best. It's like the best time of the year, man. It is totally my favorite.
Oh, it's my favorite time of the year too, man. I'm so excited.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us. We will see you guys next week. See you guys later.